In the studio, we have a trio of members of the Tinubu Support Organization. For my immediate left is the coordinator of the organization in Ekiti State, Engineer Gabriel Babalola. Welcome, sir.
Thank you for that.
Immediately after him is a man who needs very little introduction, Dr. Bayo Orire. He is a patron of TSO in Ekiti State. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you.
And next to him is an academic, Dr. Tunde Ajayi. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
We want to look at the emergence of the president. Dr. Orire, how easy would you say election victory was for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu?
Thank you. Right from the onset, right from the decision-taking onset, it was much, like a happening task, to the extent that coming out months after he had decided within himself, coming out to declare became very cagey and wavy. It was immediately Buhari took over. There seemed to be like a plot all set against Tinubu. And they started with Fashola to replace him. Went to the east and the south to look at Amici and some other people. Came back to the ache of Kaudifayemi, Amusu, and people from Kwara, before they settled down to on the vice president, Asiwaju, and later the president of the Senate. And all of these took years, not months, and took a lot of politicking and most slugging and so many things, you know. And I happen to have been stuck with Tinubu in my mind. I was in Abuja twice on invitation, and on the two occasions when I told them who I wanted to, they didn't pay my flight ticket back. I had to fund my ticket because I said, look, this is the only person who could win. Going for another person in the south is a waste of time. I said, doctor, we know what you're talking about. This is what we want. Yes, I'm not in that game. And it took a lot. That's my personal experience.
Would you want to mention those people?
No. No, because we are friends.
Okay.
And we are still friends.
Okay.
And majority of them are Tinubu's friends today in government. You understand what I'm saying? So that's his politics for you. Everybody wanted to see, you know what to pay the state, but you want what to pay you off. Pay off for you. You understand? That is the personal interest in politics. Even in places very high up, you understand? They know the stuff Tinubu is made of. They know that it should be him. But they wanted some other things because there are a lot of game plans and they had to do what was necessary.
Mo ti ń ṣèyí bọ̀, ọjọ́ ti pẹ́, ẹgbẹ́ kìíní wá, èmi ló kàn.
Let me tell you, if not for the annoyance and some other things, Tinubu would have missed it. He wouldn't have been able to have it.
What do you mean by annoyance?
Okay. You find out that that language, èmi ló kàn, did not come from the Tinubu you will know. Tinubu was not always combative. Was not always the type of the person that would say, I did this for this, I did it for that, openly. But he was pushed to the wall.
Dr. Yorùbá ló kàn. Tá a bá dẹ̀ sá Yorùbá náà, èmi ló kàn.
You understand? And he was not going to lose like a coward. And that was how he lashed out at the president, lashed out at some governors, lashed out at so many bodies, so many people who helped.
Àdúró tiẹ̀, wàá dẹ̀ wọlé. Nǹkan ní pé o ní fọ̀rọ̀ orílẹ̀-èdè Yorùbá ṣeré.
But there was a game that was almost succeeding. And at that point, some people saw it coming, that this might lead to some anarchy and some civil disturbances. And so they had to shelve that those games and plots. And that was how the game turned in his favor. Ordinarily, the game was supposed to work against him.
Dr. Ajayi, why do you think there was so much opposition to the emergence of Tinubu before that election in the government that he was supposed to be a national leader?
Let me thank you for this. I know that you are one of the students who believe that history will write itself. It's taken us about 70 years now for the history of the Awolowo era to write itself. The history of Buhari as a military president is writing itself presently. When you look at the Yorubas who have been involved in politics, Tinubu is the first Yoruba man to get there with all the things that had been thrown at him. What am I saying? During the time of Awolowo, a lot was thrown at him. A lot, and it was the North that did not allow him to get there. Of course, he had internal enemies too, just like Dr. Obiri said. The next person who would have been there was Abiola. In fact, it was a plethora of mischief, a plethora of ganging up and so on. That actually led not only for Abiola to miss that opportunity, but in fact to lose his life. The next person the Yorubas wanted there was Falaye. Not General Obasanjo. It was not the Yoruba choice. And so you could see that because Obasanjo was not the Yoruba choice, he had a smooth passage. Falaye did not have a smooth passage. He almost didn't have a party to even run on at that point in time. And so, AD at that time won in the West, lost massively at the center. Tinubu's emergence started having problems like Dr. Rere said, perhaps even 4 years before the thing really happened. There were Yorubas who were positioning themselves as sons and daughters of the Sokoto Caliphate. There were Yoruba governors who were actually going around and saying that they had been endorsed by the Caliphate, as if the Caliphate was a solid block that would install you as a king. There were also Yorubas who were given the impression that the track record of Tinubu is not good enough to follow. But the funny thing is that these Yoruba men had probably lost branch with their own roots. We Yorubas know that the leader of a community is never a saint. They don't ever look for a saint. They don't look for a tiny god. They just look for a capable person.
Ó tásìkò náà tá a máa gbà á, ọmọ tó mówó wálé ni bàbá àti ìyá ẹ̀ máa yan rìn. agbára yìí kò ń ṣe fún òkè ọya nìkan.
And when it was obvious that Tinubu was a perfect fit for a capable person, somebody who had done it, even a man who disliked him so much called him the wizard of politics. The man that he fought for 4 years as president and emerged victorious. So, like many other Yorubas, I was afraid that this man would be tarnished again. I was afraid that a man who has been adjudged as capable politically, a man who had been adjudged as changing the surface and face of Lagos State, is perhaps the most cosmopolitan state. Perhaps it's not even perhaps, it's definitely the most cosmopolitan state that we have in Nigeria, where you rule outside Igbos, TV, Biram, and so on together. He made a success of his tenure there. But I have never, in over 65 years of my life, seen the kind of, what did you call it the other time, mutiny or gang up against a human being. I've never seen that. And so we were so afraid. Whilst we were afraid, there were some of us who believed and knew, in TSO for instance, in the Tinubu Support Organization, that he was a perfect fit. There were people who were in government, who were in state government service, who lost their place in the state government because they were supporting Tinubu. And I'm talking about Ekiti. People who were almost egged out of that appointment, all because they thought Tinubu was a better candidate. Now it's been proved. In going to court, there were unanimous decisions. In fact, there were decisions read for about 12 hours. We are not one of the judges. We may say anything about the judges, but the profundity of their thinking, of their analysis, will make you happy that you are a Nigerian. The Supreme Court verdict too was a vindication of the Yoruba thinking. We didn't put this man to represent us or to go and be president because he's a saint. We put him there because he's a capable person. There were people who should have been in court, who should still be in court today, to defend their names and legacies. People who their immediate bosses called names, called irresponsible, incapable of deciphering between true, legal, and illegal. People who had become vice presidents in this country. In fact, I personally know, that if Atiku had a person or had a choice, he should not be in court with Tinubu. He should be in court with Obasanjo, who called him. Go and read under my watch. Obasanjo destroyed him completely, but was not given the same kind of opposition that Tinubu was. Obasanjo destroyed him even to his paternity and to his own family. He called him names that are even worse than being a rogue. But the Nigerian politics, somehow, some blocks are highly afraid of the Yoruba race. There's no other race that had been given this kind of problem before. Not the Igbos. And to see the perfidy of this last election, of the support level, you see a number 3 claiming that he was number 1. What does he want to do with the number 2? You see the number 2 and number 3 going to court together. At the end of the day, who would you like to give the verdict to? Is it to the number 3 person? It was as if there was mass hypnotism in this country. And I'm using that word because I know hypnotism. There's no other way that you can't just call that what happened to Tinubu mere word of betrayal. No. It was almost like hypnotizing the whole nation against him. And as God will have it, even in mass hypnotism, there will be some exceptions. The man in Kaduna State was an exception. He stood with Tinubu till the end. The man, in fact, who was nominated as president of the Senate, later became an exception, who stood with them. But before he turned over, we were in a perilous nation. I thank God and I thank Nigerians, and I think I'm proud to be a Nigerian, because invariably justice had been done, the winner had been installed, and the man is doing well.
Nigeria! Nigeria!
In shopping for someone to take the role of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu before the APC primary election, were you surprised that that shopping was actually done to Ekiti State?
Thank you very much. Even though the presidency, every Nigerian has the right to aspire to become a president, but we know that to lead Nigeria, it will take somebody that is well experienced in politics, who has done something that we Nigeria can point to. So I was surprised when I heard that Dr. Kayode Fayemi, the former governor of Ekiti State, wanted to be president. And in fact, the journalists interviewed me on the day that we were doing the inauguration of a TSO in Ekiti State. They asked me a question that, why is it that an Ekiti man is running for the presidency and we didn't support him? And we are supporting somebody from Lagos State. I told them that the job of governing Nigeria is not for the boys. The load is too heavy for somebody that cannot carry it. And if Nigerians have made a mistake of electing another person that is less qualified than Tinubu, I think in the next 10 years, I doubt if Nigeria can be together, because the job is it's not for the boys, as I can say. So the emergence of Asiwaju, I can say, has a divine hand, because Nigeria has been governed in a way that Nigeria has become rotten and is moving towards an edge of collapse before the emergence of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So it's not surprising that he emerged as the president. Number one, he has the experience. Then number two, if you look at the way he worked before the primaries, I don't think there is any Oba that didn't have the chance of meeting with him.
In Yoruba land?
Not only in Yoruba land. In Yoruba land, in the north, in the east, everywhere. And you can see that as he was going, moving from one town to another, moving from one town to another, moving from one town to another, all other aspirants were sleeping. How come that somebody that walked to emerge, after the emergence of that person, people are saying that they rigged election? So, in fact, I've not seen a man like him.
People of the Fountain.